Okay, so our project, and I thought that we could just noodle on it while we discuss. So anybody who feels the inclination to come and to this side of things and take down stuff and add pictures and add artwork. I mean, this is oil pastel, so they make a kind of wide and lovely line. And here's construction paper, and you can cut it into any shape that you want, put it around your pictures or just by itself. Here's a couple of background kind of watercolor thingies that you can cut up or add as they are, either with images or without. It's whatever you think is appealing to you. We've got glue sticks to tie things down with, and these are the things that we came up with that are our losses. So this whole picture is a visual of our losses. And so with these guys, I just chopped them, and you probably want to cut them further so that they fit on the page. And again, you can make them, you know, like you could cut it up and put it in front of that, something like that. Or you could put construction paper behind it. We've got all kinds of images from magazines and from the internet, so you can add those and tack them down with glue. And we want to fill in the whole thing as much as we can, the whole page. What will be our artwork for loss.
And Carol sent some pictures in that you printed off.
Carol sent pictures in. Charlotte sent this one in. And Amy and Raven sent some in that I printed off. That one's a Carol. She sent that one. Yeah. And she sent this one. Of Doug, yep. And this one, I don't know who this is.
That's a neighbor.
A neighbor, okay.
Who has left, and there's a lot of loss in that.
All
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So we will add these to the artwork.
Yeah.
All right, as we go. All right. So I'm done. So we'll just yeah, everybody who wants to kind of fool around here, gather on this side also a little bit. You can put one more person here. If you don't want to do the art, then move out of the way so somebody who does can come over here. Well, so this is good for you. You will love it. It will be your way of doing art that makes more sense than ever before. Doing art.
Thank you for putting me out. So we're gonna, yeah, this is in keeping with our theme of lamentation and celebration. And so our video today that we're gonna watch, it's a little longer than our other videos that we've seen, but you know, it's storytelling, and you'll understand this project in relation to what the speaker has to share today. So God will bless our creativity and our grieving, our mourning, and our celebration. So let's go ahead and start with the video.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. You got it.
You've experienced death?
Yeah.
Life, blood?
Yeah. I have.
You've experienced life,
Yeah.
death, gift, life, blood.
Yes. I've experienced it through other people, but I guess my personal encounter happened 3 years ago when I had my child prematurely, and she died resting on my chest after 2 hours and 45 minutes, right? And I remember that evening being in this hospital room, and the hospital was so compassionate. They allowed her to be there as if she was alive, but her body was in a small crib beside me. She could fit on the palm of my hands. And my husband had to leave, and so I was in this hospital room, dim light. It felt almost like a cave, right? With the body of my child. And I remember just wailing out to God, to something. I was angry and hurt and just wailing out and said, I sure as hell, God, need you to hear me, and I need you to make yourself visible and known to me, like clearly. I don't want any of this abstract ambiguity. Like, in this time, if I am going to live through this, I'm gonna need you to show yourself and make it plain. I prayed that prayer, I guess, and cried and just waited. And in praying though, I think I also kind of heard, it was like a conversation. I was doing most of the screaming, but like this silent kind of voice was telling me, you know, like, okay, just keep your eyes open and pay attention, right? Like, just keep your eyes open. I went back to all my old school kind of gospel teachings of like, life with Christ means joy and abundant life, you know? And it was like, yeah, I know that is possible even in the midst of my pain. So like, what does it look like for me to live abundantly and to honor the life of Ane and through my living, right? And so during that time, I began to just name things, and my husband, just name them to my husband. They were foolish. It's like, I want to get a studio downtown. I want to do art professionally. I'd like to travel the world taking pictures, you know, photographs. And it's like, these things would give me life, you know, and I want to love the world through things that are coming from my hands. And I feel like I have a lot to say. And during that time too, I was like creating on the floor in the middle of the night. I couldn't sleep a lot, but I would be making cards and be making things with watercolor. And it was just like that fed me, right? And gave me life and kept me going, right? That creating process, because I realized when you go through something like that, as a woman, for me particularly, my body couldn't carry her anymore. So there's a lot of grace and relearning how to love my body that had to happen. And through this process of creating, right, it was like, okay.
Creating heals?
Yeah, for me, in that moment it did. Because I realized, like, my body can create. And not to be angry with it. And that's taken time, right? And I'm still working on it. But during that, like, creation was healing me. Creating was healing me. And so I realized that I needed to live into this call, mustered up the courage. And I think the fear of not doing it became greater than the fear of doing it, you know, because you fear like, oh, I'll lose my car, I'll lose, you know, my house, I'll lose all these things if I follow what I feel God is calling me to do in this season, or like, what would people think? Because the masters of divinity have been trained to do church ministry, right? What are they gonna, like, what? I think I was hearing like, wow, like, live the life you imagine, like God wants to bless that, and you are capable, and you are enough, and you're, you know, and I learned a couple of techniques alongside of people in the project when I brought in artists, and so my skills started growing, and so I resigned and got a studio downtown, started taking some photographs and creating some artwork and living, and you know, living, yeah, and living. I think, especially after everything happened, it was really hard for me to go back to life as it was, right? To walk back into the place where I was before my life was interrupted. And I almost felt like I couldn't breathe at times. It's like, whoa, this is not where I'm supposed to be. It's all good work. And it was like this weird kind of wrestling, right? With like, this is good stuff. Like, this is Jesus stuff. And this is...
Oh, this is creation groaning.
Yeah, this is creation groaning. And in that groaning too, I think it was hard for me to groan along. Like I was already groaning, and so participating in the groans got really hard as well. And it was hard to breathe. And my heart was continuing, like it was broken open with AJ and her passing, but it was also like broken open anew, you know, when I went back to work, and it was just this heaviness, and I just couldn't breathe. And I realized like God wanted me to breathe, you know, and that there are ways that I could live into this new thing while still co-creating and participating. And it is a part of it. It's not still, like, it's just a different way than I had once thought. You know, it wasn't even imagined, because this is what I imagined. This is what I imagined, right? But that was just kind of what I was taught and what I'd seen, and it was good and it was beautiful, and I wanted to be a part of it, you know. But then God showed me, like, yeah, but what your imagination, this dream you've had for years, it's also good and it's beautiful, and I'm there too, right? And so it's been cool. I create now, and I'm breathing deeply. You know, it's not perfect, it's a grind. And I've lost a lot of things along the way, but I think once you have experienced what I experienced, like losing some of these like possessions is nothing. It's like, okay, yeah, I'll cry for that for a second, maybe. But I'm moving on, you know, and everything will come back. And it's made me a better person. I think it's made me, the journey continues to kind of make me a better partner to my husband, friend, daughter, sister, lover, friend, you know, like all of these things, because I'm living into who I believe God has created me to be, you know. These days I'm still doing a lot of screaming with regards to this desire to so weird, like to have a child, and we've had 2 miscarriages since, and so it's been this journey of coming to like acceptance, this constant push and pull of acceptance, as well as just like all out, like, no, I don't want this, like this is what I want. So there's a lot of crying out for God to like to heal those places that are still wounded. I think there is this dying in some ways that happened, and making room for like, and being open to growth. I've always been kind of, and I still sometimes cringe when I hear people say like, all things work together for good who loves the Lord. And I know I love the Lord.
This doesn't sound fleshy.
Yeah, and I don't know, it always kind of like, I don't quite know what that means, right? Because it always comes after, it doesn't always come, but I hear it a lot after kind of, I make myself vulnerable and naked in the sense of sharing like these tragedies that have happened, especially like the loss of my daughter. I think life happens, right? I think in this, I don't know all the answers, and by all means, I think a lot of it's just mystery, and I'm okay sitting in the mystery. And I haven't come to believe yet that God makes these tragedies and senseless things happen. You know, I don't believe God does.
Not coercive like that?
Yeah, no, I think God lets us live, and in living includes both the joy and the sorrow. However, when we experience the sorrows and the pain, if we remain open to the possibility of love coming in and helping us truly live into the new normal, we're transformed, we're changed, we grow, we're awakened in ways that we weren't before. you know? And I can say that as tragic. I mean, I wish AJ was walking and running around the studio right now, and that but there's certain things that I know that her leaving too, and that love I had for her opened up space and freed me in some ways, to even see God differently, to see myself differently, to be a more empathetic listener as I sit with people who are crying and lamenting, like taught me how to truly lament, not just sit on a mourner's bench with somebody, but to lament some of the things that are happening that are not meant to be. Like, God does not desire for us to go through the heartbreak, which I think is different than a heart opening, but the breakings that we experience. I think God cries and weeps, you know, with us. And so, some of the things I've learned, gosh, like, man, I wish it hadn't taken that. There's so much life. But I know too, before she even died though, I was doing work with a therapist. So that's always good. To claim life before she even arrived. Because I was like, I don't want my daughter to be afraid of some of the things that I'm afraid of. Like, I don't want my daughter to be a prisoner to guilt and to shame and to the past, you know? So like, work with me, therapist, work with me, God, work with me through my therapist and my pastor, God, and my husband and my friends who are willing to listen, so that I can fully live even before she comes, you know? But in the breaking, I remained open to what to God's healing and how God could help me live. And it's made me a different person. It's brought me back to life. And maybe even for the first time, I am really fully living. And it takes work every day, right? It's not a one-time thing. I'm always having to fight old records and voices and my own internal kind of, my mind that needs to make sense of all things and kind of freeing myself. The art helps me and pushes me the process, teaches me how to let go, dwell, and create a rich life in the midst of the mystery and the things that I don't have control over. Take each moment at a time. Try to figure out how to live well today, one day at a time. Yeah.
Things I really loved about Lanisha's video is that it really is something that kind of blends together these two ideas, lamentation and celebration, and how it's kind of woven through. She doesn't let one stop the other, but they're all kind of the same expression. As she moves through this experience, sharing of it, made me think about what can we do to kind of, one question is, what can we do to live a richer life of mystery? Rest leaning into the mystery when we're not in control. What types of things can we do to help us deepen and feel out of control?
I like that, I like how she was wrestling with that saying, all things work for good to those who love the Lord. And it seems like that's, the expression of that in art is one thing that we can do. It's like, what is this? What is this world that we're involved in? Why? And those questions that we all have, that we can do that, and that's healing. And yeah.
I liked the fact that she modeled faith in that as she was wailing and angry and going through this broken experience, she still was open to find God in all that. And she never, even though she was angry and everything, there was still the basic bottom thing that God is here somewhere. And show yourself. She was engaged the whole time, even throughout. Quite a model.
And she claimed that tradition within our own of lament, and said she would truly learn how to lament through this experience. I think some cultures embrace that more than others, and our North American culture. I remember attending a funeral in Central America and seeing the amount of grief that was expressed, and I thought, oh my goodness, how cathartic, how needed that is. And it is, it's witnessed in our scriptures, and it's there if we can make use of it.
I had a really great friend who, she believed in God, and she spoke in tongues, which it was my husband. She spoke, talking to my husband, who was a priest, and he said she was speaking. What is it that Jesus spoke? Anyway, yeah, and she didn't really. She knew what she was thinking when she said it, but she couldn't. And she wasn't in that speaking in tongues mode. She couldn't translate it. And she also, she loved nature. She loved everything. She had an altar in the house every day. And she got cancer, and she didn't want to be treated. She was probably about 65. And so when she died, I went to the funeral home, and there was none of her family was there when I went, and nobody that I knew that knew her. She had the most beautiful casket you can imagine. She had a good friend fix it for her, fix her hair. She just looked so much at peace, but she had flowers growing and stuff all around, moss. She had a big wreath of flowers. She had little tiny animals, all these things surrounding her in that casket. And that was the most satisfying thing I've ever seen at a funeral, and made me feel like she was really at peace. And I felt a lot of peace about her death because of that. She was a very artistic person. It was a marvelous thing.
I just had all these thoughts running through my head. Listening to that, it was very powerful. I think about the sadness that she must have gone through, and how it sort of sounded like some stuff I'm not hearing so well these days, but how it sort of changed her direction in life. And it just, everything reminds me of this kind of grief that I carry all the time. these days, you know. We're very close with the Apaches down in San Carlos, you know, fighting to keep their sacred land. And then we come home and we think that, well, look, we've been with them for 4 months. And so we thought, well, we'll come home and we'll have a break, ride my motorcycle a little bit, we'll get out on the bike trail and go to our river and then it's just constantly Palestine things going on. And we, you know, I don't know how it all happened. I live pretty comfortably. I mean, we don't have a lot, but we have what we need. And I think see people around me that don't have, can't afford a house, can't afford rent. So it's just this big pondering. And so I wonder about God. What's the plan, you know? And I know it's, and I'm then deep inside of me in my belief system, I know it's God's plan. So it's just this makes me think of that day of grief. And knowing that for generations and centuries and eons we've been dealing with it all, you know. So we're just a flash in the pan. You know, 20 years from now, I will have outlived my dad by a few years. You know, if I'm still alive in 20 years, so it's not that long. I don't have to do it. But, it's gone on for years. So this makes it real.
I found myself in our congregation, in a little farming town in Nebraska, just reevaluating some of the assumptions. You know, one of them is this subconscious belief, I think, that we carry, that God is trying to understand God's rationale. And why is there so much suffering? Why is there so much pain? But because behind it is this I don't know if it's a hope or I don't know what it is, that at some point God will make it right. And I'm not sure that that's right. Because, you know what I mean, when you say to consider what's the option, because it's actually about free will. I mean, we're dealing with the consequences of free will. Here's what it is. So the option is to be robots. That's the option in order to have something different. So the pain is just going to be there. And we were asking, like, talking about ourselves about, you know, what is heaven like? You know, and and there was a kind of, it's a place with no pain, perfect place, you know, whatever that is. And I don't know what it was, but we kind of, the door opened and people started saying, I don't want that. Because it doesn't feel real. I think it was influenced by the TV series. It's the one on Apple. It was great TV.
Left Behind.
I know.
With Ted Danson.
Yeah, with Ted Danson. It's a good place. Yeah,
A good place.
yeah. Because I think that last episode is the best TV ever. I mean, theological, everything. And that we decided that the heaven that excited us, I mean, like we could choose, right? Because we don't have choice. Is the place where love is so abundant that you only have to worry about the things you have control over. Which then by definition means there's going to be, it's not perfect, but that you only put your energy on the things you have control over. And if you don't, you're free. And we just started going, that's a really nice world. Because we thought, you know, imagine heaven on earth, right? What would that be like if we only worried about the things we have control over? And I think in that world, then grief actually gets, in a bizarre way, worse. Because we can't do anything about it. We can't, there are certain things we just can't do about it. And so the only thing that we can do is love. And it's gonna hurt like hell. And, but if you're willing to go there, then you open yourself up to the wholeness of love, which makes it, which you can do. And that's why a lot of the, I was hungry, so I had to forget, so I walked into the, which is why a lot of like Latino cultures, there's no difference between life and death. There's no line. It's the same thing. There's no difference between celebration and grief. There's just no line. It's all the same. It's the same thing, and it's all in. It's all in. And so maybe that even that pain is part of what the reign of God is like. Because you can't control it. It is what it is. Might as well jump in, all in, but you're going to also jump into all love.
Yeah, for me, it has come up in the past few years. Interestingly enough, in my exploration of cosmology, you know, and that all the time there are these huge concentrations of energy that create stars and then all this other stuff that blows things apart and cosmic dust goes all over the place. And it's always this transformation of coming together, creating light, dispersing, creating dark matter. And then if you look in the realm of animals, there's all kinds of cruelty that happens. It's just part of it, you know, like my grossest, ickiest one is the animal, I think it's a wasp that lays eggs inside of another creature, and that creature is eaten out from the inside while it's alive. You know, it's like, what is that? That's like, but that's part of creation. So what do we do with that? You know, so I really agree with what you're saying, that heaven can't be a place where everything is always static and nice and unpeaceful. But that what we know as humans is love. I mean, that's what we have. That's all we have, really. Because we know very little also. Yeah, exactly. We don't have a lot of knowledge, we don't have a lot of smarts. We have this capacity to love. I have to stand up because my hip is killing me, so. No.
Those are good words, because that's what we've experienced with down in Oak Flat, is basically these people we're with. That's what it comes down to, is everybody kind of knows that we don't know what's going to happen the next day, but we can love each other. And then we were at a rally yesterday afternoon. It was just such a concentration of love for the moment, of people who really cared about the situation, and just were re-amplified voices. We had a microphone there for people to be able to say what was on their mind. It was real powerful, and it was a nice sense of community.
I wonder about that. You know, she talks a lot in the video about how creation has helped to heal her, the creative act. And I wonder about that creative act of just gathering with other people and creating liturgies and goodbyes or acknowledgments, you know, rituals, and how important they are for us. Yeah, we're getting ready to walk through many of those in this holiest week.
I think it's worth maybe getting that. I don't know if they even have it in DVD or Blu-ray or whatever it is, but the first sequence of Fantasia with Mickey Mouse as the sorcerer and goes into creation, and the creation goes into chaos, and he thinks he can control it until he loses it, and it's like the scariest thing ever, like beyond scary. which is like, he had to face a reality that he wasn't in control. And then it resolves. Which I think feels, so the intentionality of, you can't run away from it. You can't run away, which is why you have to be present, intentional, and ritualize things without going poo, right? I mean, it being true.
It's the thing we do, it's the thing we've done since the beginning of humanity, creating a ritual. That's what distinguishes us from, well, it's what distinguishes Homo sapiens. It isn't our intellect, it isn't even our tools, it's our fetishes, the things that we put in burial mounds, the things that we make, send other people on.
There's a quote I came across last week, well, was reminded of last week, that makes me think about some of what we're talking about with suffering, and even what you were talking about with nature, because I was thinking about that a little bit as after our discussion of the John Muir book, and just some of the kind of horrifying things that happen in nature and suffering in the world. And there's this quote by Khalil Gibran, says, "When you are sorrowful, look again in your heart, and you shall see that in truth you are weeping for that which has been your delight." Which just sometimes forget, like anything that, almost anything that you think of as tragic. There would be no tragedies if there was no good in the first place. Like the idea, God said it was good in creation, anything that we consider a loss, like as sad as it is, but it's only a loss because of the good in the first place. So even loss is a reminder that ultimately, like, it came from something good, like the kind of foundation around everything is goodness. So I don't know, I take this sort of comfort in that, or it seems to me like a kind of enlightening way to look at it. Like even the things in nature that are horrible, like it's better. I can only guess, but I even imagine, like, if I were, say, to be reincarnated as a creature, and I had some horrible death, it seems like it'd be better to have lived and died a bad death, even if it was slow than not have lived at all. Like, still ultimately, like, better.
To love is to know pain, is to know grief. She was mentioning how, she doesn't believe that God wants us to suffer. That God sends the snakes to kill us and bite us, but that there is something that occurs when we have a breakthrough, when we are broken open. There is a shift. And I wonder if any of you have experienced that in the grief and the loss. It's caused you to see the world in a new way.
Well, it seems to me that the whole concept of free will, once that happened, it opened the barn door to everyone. Because if you don't have free will, you don't have the capacity to think about things. And once you have that capacity to think, everything happens.
Yesterday, Raven and I spent time at the garden. Let's relate, we were in a class on climate action, and it was remarkable because what we did was write love letters to the earth. And me assessing my relationship with this home, and with all beloved critters and plants, and we're lamenting what's happening. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't act, right? But I know that I can act from this place of anger and then I can go into despair. And that isn't helpful to me. But remembering my love and this relationship that I'm wanting to reinvest in all the time was a creative act. This writing was a creative act. And from there, I felt much more energy to go into whatever my steps are, whatever my vows are to work with that. So all of it is so important, right? Letting myself feel, horrified, but not to think of, there were a couple people in there who are birders and they have trouble going birding now because they just think about all the birds that are gone. And I get that. But then I also think, wait, but there's still birds there, right?
Listen to the new bugs that will come in.
I've seen them. Yes, I've seen them. Yes. So, and so I think about, my honor of being with people as they die. I'm not saying I just want to give up on a human and how we're living on the land, but I also want to be present for what's not. Well, all of it, right? And that takes creativity. Just doing that takes creativity out of the heart and mind.
It seems like acting out of that, whatever puny actions we can do are going to be a lot more effective in transforming. Because what we need is transformation in every aspect of our world. And we're not going to get that if we just continue to act out of anger and despair, which I totally relate to. That's just the same old business as usual. If we really want to birth this new world that we're trying so hard to do, we got to transform ourselves. And we're in a lot of groups, and what I keep hearing is this deep love for all creation. And that means starting with self-care. We have to take care of ourselves so that we can come from this love, so that we can birth love all around. It's hard work, but if we come together and stay together in the work, we may just see it someday.
That question you put out there, Alicia, makes me think in all this is we've got what we have to do if we really want to understand God's relationship with us and our relationship with God and the creation that we're living on, enjoying and sustaining us. Because we've got to just really engage. And so when you said that about something that happened, immediately I thought of we went down and we lived for 4 months on the land without the electricity we brought with us with the jackery. They didn't have places to plug. It wasn't like camping. You didn't plug your coach into the thing, and you didn't have a shower house, and you had a vault toilet. Some people call it the long drop. And that was what you had, and we had minimized our camping setup. So basically, we had the comfort of a place to get warm if we wanted to, but with a place to get warm, it was also the discomfort of an enclosed place and not really that comfortable seating. Just enough, basically, just what we needed to not be in pain, really, and a place to sleep. And that's what we had. Otherwise, we were outside. And it wasn't just a vacation, we were there to do a mission for this group called Community Peacemaking Teams. And so we couldn't run from there when the weather got bad. So, for all of my years, I can think of times when I've been uncomfortable in nature, but for the most part, it was a rather quick knowledge that rather quickly I could return to a warm home and real shower and all that. But this was an immersion in nature with all the good and bad. And so that changed, that really has changed my perspective of the Palestinian issue, the houseless issue. We went at one time and we met with people and went to classes with people who, for whatever reason, either by choice or by economic circumstances or by fire in Paradise, California, with one of the people, the only thing they had left was to move into their car or a van or whatever they could work out, you know. And so they've been basically since Paradise, this woman has been living in her car instead of her home in a beautiful mountain area. And the weather, she takes the weather, good and bad. She takes what's out there. So our church became what my long ago ancestors' church was on the ground. And so when we were saying our prayers, the birds would fly in and respond. And so we would take all kinds of things that happened around us while we were worshiping, while we were praying, as little signs from God. So it really, that experience of living there and having to be there and suffering in the way that we did, and the beauty and joy in the way that we did, really has changed that perspective quite a bit.
Also, I didn't say when I talked a minute ago that one of the things that happened last night at this gathering is that somebody stood up and offered the gift of dance. So they played this song and we all just danced and shook off everything. And what a powerful self-care that is, and a powerful visible love to, you know, so we gotta have the joy too, in all this hard work.
So come and add your bits to our communal drawing about loss. And let's see, you know, everybody, I'll just come around and add a drawing or find the word that you put out, and maybe I'll make a little room here and maybe add a few things to it. Around everybody, yeah.
Add something, everybody add something.
Everybody add something. Here's the words over here and drawing.
I'm just gonna glue this down. And then I'll get out of it. I'm so shocked that anti-Semitism is on the rise. It just breaks my heart.
I mean, they use any excuse. It's not that, it's not that on the rise, it was already there. And the house owner just grabbed this in the cat. And then he managed to get his cat back, and then he found it again. So they finally figured out the owl would have got back to make a nest by the birds. Because once it got to the
So we're gonna conclude our time, and if you're invited to stay and contribute to this work of art, I wanted to let you know that the final lament comes from this book called Black Liturgies, and the artist who created the cover art was our speaker today, Lancia. Yeah, so she did this, and as you know, she has a master's in divinity, but left all of that behind to have a studio and create art and be a photographer. And so anyway, this is a book Cole Arthur Riley has penned that just came out, and I thought it would be a great way for us to end our time together. So it's called Breathe. You can see it on the bottom of your page, and it involves inhaling and exhaling. So I will say the inhale and invite you to respond. How long, oh God? This is too much to hold. I am not okay. God, with you I am safe. I don't have to hold every pain at once. I can feel and not be consumed. I won't rush my grief. These tears are sacred. Oh God of sacred tears, we thank you for guiding and being with us. We never cry alone because we're always in your presence. We thank you for the gift of community and the ability to grieve with one another and lament. May this creativity heal us, and your love that is infinite, that always brings grief as well. May it be a balm for our souls and lead us into our next right action. And all of this we pray in your name.
Amen.
So yeah, stay and finish this, and then I'll take it, maybe we'll put it up over here next week for everybody to see the finished product.
A little housekeeping, make sure you take your cup and put it in the kitchen. Thank you.
I'm taking cups so I can take everything. Oh, that's a lot. How many yards you got, girl? And I think there's one more. We hope it doesn't go.
Have you seen one of these? They do a very good job. Have you seen it? Yes, right? Yeah, in that simple. That's beautiful. Love that. What was the rally you were at? What was the? It was
Lori,
Carol. Sorry,
yes.
know where the
What is-
book comes from.
What is the name of the book?
Oh, the book that we just read from,
Yes, I couldn't hear the title.
Black Liturgies.
Black what?
Black Liturgies.
Okay,
Cole Arthur Riley.
thank you.
You hold it up to the.
I'll hold it up, yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Got it.
Got it? Do you want to put this one somewhere? Oh, isn't nature just amazing? It's just amazing.
You could make an entire collage out of these.
Oh my gosh, those are so
Oh.
What are those? I think they're roses. What color is it? I don't know, but these are just beautiful.
It could also be a, did you see that? So look at that. Yummy.
And I was trying to read the word that Raven put under John. Yeah. That's really good. I like that. Did you send in this? Was that your picture, Amy?
No, I thought it was yours.
I just like put it on the heart, but I didn't bring it in. Yeah.
Yes. Can I do the pool? I'm trying to mix, obviously. You want to connect them? I do. You want to know? Good, that's fun. Well, that's working. Oh, that's working. It is? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because adding that down here brings it together. What is? It's a type of paper. I'm thinking, let's get some. Thank you. Oh, these are harder. These are the easiest. These will be easy. How about take that green and create some lines? Any kind of. Yeah, yeah, any kind of. There you go. There you go. See? But I want to figure fat lines. Okay, let's use, let's use those. Those are really bold and beautiful. Yeah, just go right over the top of it. They'll show through.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that fun? I love this.
So I keep losing my scissors.
Yes. Good. Wild.